Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel at commaik. In my project series on building a lawn irrigation system with Hunter MP-Rotators, today I want to show you how I connect the solenoid valve to my Hunter X-Core irrigation controller. Today I will install the control cable, connect the valve, connect the irrigation controller and also program it. If you want to know how that works, stay tuned. We're starting in just a moment. In my last videos, I showed you how I planned this lawn area and the lawn irrigation. I showed you how I laid the pipes, installed the sprinklers and laid the main line under my walkway. Now I want to connect the solenoid valve, which is located here in my distribution station, to my irrigation controller. Connected, the Hunter X-Core irrigation controller is located about 10 meters away in my house. The route there will go through two empty electrical conduits. I laid those in advance when installing the valve box. I have two empty conduits that run under the walkway to the other side, where there is a small distribution box. From there, I can route the cables further to the right or left. On the other side of the valve box, I also laid two empty conduits. One conduit runs under my lawn to the Gabion slope, where I also want to build an irrigation system later. The other conduit runs around the corner to the raised beds. Those should also be irrigated later. The empty conduits are large enough to accommodate power cables in addition to the control cables. To lay, but for the control, a cable that isn't as thick as a typical power cable is sufficient. For the control, I use a YSLY-JZ cable with 5x 0.75 mm 2 wires. For connecting the valve, two wires are enough. One wire is for ground and the other is for the voltage. The valves are controlled with 24 volts. When the power is on, the valve opens and water can flow. When the power is off, the valve closes automatically. It doesn't matter whether the ground or the voltage is connected to the left or right. That makes no difference at all. But it's important that you only need the ground wire once, no matter how many valves you have installed. All valves can be connected with the same ground wire. On the irrigation controller, there is only a single ground connection that is used for every valve. The voltage, meaning the other wire, however, must be connected separately to the controller for each valve. If you have installed multiple valves in your valve box, the formula for the minimum number of wires needed in the control cable is as follows. Number of valves plus 1 to protect the contacts of both cable ends. To protect the connection from moisture, I will first secure it inside a simple junction box. I'll mount the box a bit higher so that no water can get in. Once I have connected the other cables later on, the box will be filled with epoxy resin. That way the connection will be completely waterproof. Speaking of connections, my goal is to pull a cable through the empty conduit to my irrigation controller. This cable with 5 wires gives me the option to connect up to 4 valves in total. Currently I only have one valve, so I have the possibility to control 3 more valves using this cable. I'll run the cables from the other valves from the Gabion slope or the raised beds to here. Then I'll connect the cable from the control computer to these new control cables. So I'm basically building a distribution station for the control cables. If I need more cables later on because I've installed more valves or am using other systems, there's enough space in the empty conduits to thread additional cables through. Since the cable is relatively soft, it's quite difficult to push it into the conduit. It's hard to push it into the empty conduit. If you have a straight run without any curves or bends, you might be able to push the cable through for 3 to 5 meters. Otherwise it won't work anymore. In that case, a cable puller is helpful. I have a simple cable puller from the hardware store. The end with the search head is inserted into the empty conduit. With its flexible tip, the cable puller finds the right path. On the other side, I can attach For this, I will strip the insulation from the cable, open it up and expose the wires. Then I can use the cable puller to pull the cable through the empty conduit into my first small distribution box. From there it continues onto the other box near my water connection. From there I pull the cable through the house wall to my irrigation computer. I have pulled the control cable into my empty conduit. I have both cables from the outside inserted into my distribution box. This box is not waterproof. That's why I will later mount it higher up, and as soon as I have brought in the remaining cables from the other empty conduits to connect everything together. I will fill the whole thing with epoxy resin or something similar to ensure it is completely sealed. Here I have the two cables from the valve, which I now want to connect with this cable here. I have already stripped everything, and as you can see, I have a total of 5 wires, of which 4 wires are black. If you look closely here by my thumb, you can maybe see that a number is embossed here, the number 3. Here the number 4 is embossed. This means the black wires are numbered. That makes things a bit easier. Of course, when I connect the cable to the Hunter irrigation controller on the other side, the yellow-green cable must not be used as a live wire, at least in Germany. I've been reminded of this often enough, and I want to say here that yes, it is not approved for that purpose. So at this point, let me say yes, it is not permitted for that use. Nevertheless, I use it as a ground wire since it is separated from these cables, and we're talking about a control cable here, but it's important to pay attention to my warning. Now I'm going to make the connection with cable number 1. The other 3 wires I don't need at the moment, I'll just leave them open, and to make sure everything works well, I'll trim them down a bit. Strip the ends. And then the ground wire will be connected with one of the 2 red ones, and also the live wire will be connected with one of the red wires. In principle, the whole thing can be twisted together, knotted or connected using regular terminal blocks, since I'll be expanding further soon. For now, I'm just using the Wago connector temporarily for opening and closing, because these cable strands, these wires, are all fine stranded. You can't just plug them into a regular Wago connector. That's why I'm using this one here for now on one side, clipped in, and a second connector I attach on the other side. And now the other 2. Here, the cable is stripped a bit too long, so I'll trim it down a little to the right length. And now this is the Wago connector, a highly efficient and reliable electrical component. I'm skipping strain relief and similar things here, because as I said, for the sake of brevity, I'll continue the installation here. With the cover on, I'm already done on this side. At this point, a quick note, both the distribution box, the Wago connectors, and all the other materials I'm using here to build my lawn irrigation system can be found below the video in the description. Just take a look there. You can easily and conveniently reorder everything. But now let's continue on to the irrigation computer. I have fed the cables through the wall into my irrigation computer. As you can see, the yellow-green cable and the black cable labeled number 1 have already had their insulation removed. Cables 2, 3 and 4 I'll clamp to the side here. I won't connect them at the moment, but I will in the future. My irrigation computer already has a variety of cables are connected at the bottom section. Right at the front, 24 volts. That's the supply from the transformer, the power supply. This model is designed for indoor use. The model for outdoor use has an integrated transformer, so you work directly with 220 volts there. Here, only 24 volts are present. In addition, I have currently bridged my sensor, which means my sensor is not connected, and things get interesting from C to 8. The C stands for capacity for ground. Here the yellow-green cable is already connected, which supplies my previous 6 irrigation circuits with ground flow. In addition, I have also connected valves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. I will now carefully connect the brand new valve to the designated number 7. To accomplish this task, I'll first gently loosen everything a little bit, ensuring a smooth and precise operation. And screw the cable tight. I'll screw the ground wire directly onto the existing ground connection. There's enough space. If you run out of space because you might have added more cables, you can install a distribution block in advance by clamping all the ground wires onto a single cable, which then goes to the C point. With that, I'm already done and can now run a test to see if everything actually works. Before I program everything, I set my controller to manual mode. As you can see, the system wants to automatically water irrigation zone number 1. Now I switch to number 7 and just set it for 2 minutes. Turn everything back to operation and then it should all start. You can see the display is blinking, the irrigation is running. The test was successful. I put the cover back on the CommaikEnglish computer below so that everything looks neat and the cables are hidden. I can start the new irrigation zone manually. I just tried that out and it works. However, my goal is to automate it because that's what I have this irrigation computer for. That's what I'm going to show you now. But first, a quick note on my own behalf. If you're enjoying this video so far, then just give me a thumbs up now. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Just click on subscribe at the bottom right and don't miss any new videos. All materials and all components can be found below the video in the description. Feel free to take a look if you're interested. Just click on it, order, same price for you and a small commission for me and my channel. Let's continue with the programming. In the programming menu, I've already set up my programming for the first 6 irrigation zones, and now I want to add a 7th zone that is based directly on the program of the first zone. I want all my lawn areas to be watered at the same time, or rather all on the same day at the same start time. If I notice that my new lawn area gets more shade and needs less water, I can reduce the irrigation time per cycle, or I can set up a second program that runs less frequently than the main program that I'm already using. I switch to the day-hour setting menu using the rotary knob. You can see 2022. All my data is already entered. Today is August 24th at 4:57 p.m. I could change and set that here, but I don't want to because my goal is simply to add a new irrigation zone. My first zone starts at 4:45 a.m. As you can see, I haven't set up a second irrigation zone nor a third one, not on this computer. Waters only my lawn areas. I could now create a second zone here, which operates independently from the first zone as long as the times don't overlap. Otherwise, everything would run one after the other. The first one is enough. I'll move on to the setting for the irrigation duration. As you can see, I currently have for zone number 1A an irrigation duration of 16 minutes. I switched to zone number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, also 16 minutes. And on number 7, you see a 0. That means this zone is currently not being activated. It simply doesn't run. But I want to change that now. And just as a test, increase it to 5 minutes to see if the start and stop actually work automatically. I've now increased it to 5 minutes using the plus button. With plus and minus, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and that's basically all there is to it. If I click to the right, you'll see the 8th zone comes up. That one isn't connected yet, also showing a 0. If I click back, my 5 minutes are set. The watering days are currently set to Monday and Thursday. There you can see the raindrop icons. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday are crossed out. These days are currently not being watered. Seasonal adjustment, solar sync and the like. I've already shown you that in another video. Take a look. At the top right, I'll link it for you there. Now I'll switch the dial to normal operation and would now normally have to wait until the next weekday comes around. In this case, that would be Thursday at 4:45 a.m. First irrigation zone number 1 would run, then the second, then the third. Because there are so many, I could eventually look out the window at around 6:30 a.m. and then my new irrigation zone should start up. So you see, it's actually not that hard to program this irrigation computer. I'm not going to test the whole thing now because my manual test worked and the rest definitely works as well. You can also save everything. For that, I like to use this little card that comes with the Hunter system. This way you can store all the quick start shortcuts, including running through all the saved programs by simply pressing and holding the right button, and in this case the whole thing would now start manually with the first program. But I don't want to do that, so I'll turn it off again, go back to operation mode and see if tomorrow morning at 6:15 or 6:30, after the first 6 programs have run, the 7th program actually starts up properly. I showed you how you can easily connect your valves from the valve box to a lawn irrigation computer. I primarily use products from Hunter or Rainbird, but in principle the whole thing should work exactly the same with any other irrigation computer. It's important that the voltage matches, in my case 24 volts for the valves and 24 volts that the irrigation computer outputs for control. In the next video I will show you how the sprinklers, specifically the Hunter MP-Rotator, can be individually adjusted. I will show you how to change the starting angle, how to adjust the spray angle, and how to modify the throw distance. You'll see all of that in a new video from me. If you don't want to miss it, remember to subscribe, leave me a comment, send me your questions, your feedback, your critiques about this video. I'm really looking forward to that. Otherwise, give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Take a look at the description and use my product links to support my channel. I would really appreciate that. Until next time, take care. Bye.